Okay, so we'll be talking about critical areas in political. O bakit nga ba siya critical? So baka malapit-lapit na ito. Ayan. Okay, so I know you're tired. Ang sabi nga nila, rest if you must, but don't quit. And everything that we do, trust in the Lord with all your heart. Ba? And lean not on your own understanding. Of course, ang ating discussion ay galing dito. At ito ay published po ng Legispirit, yung ating sponsor. Thank you very much for sponsoring this event. At syempre, meron din tayong iba, kaya lang di ko pwedeng i-advertise kasi iba yung publisher, pero okay lang naman siguro, no? So yan, yung mga other books na na-author natin, nabanggit naman kanina. At yan po, kaya lang iba yung publication. But anyway, pwede nyo magamit at saka pwede rin kayo pumunta dito sa YouTube channel na ito. So syempre, ang political nagsisimula sa Constitution. According to the Supreme Court, it is a written instrument by which the fundamental powers of the government are established, limited, and defined. So yung Constitution nag-empower dun sa ating iba't ibang sangay ng pamahalaan at nililimit din yung mga kapangyarihang ito for the safe and useful exercise, of course, for the benefit of the people. Walang kinalaman yung mga pictures, And the Constitution is supreme. If there's any law or ordinance or decree that is contrary to the mandates of the Constitution, that should be stricken down for being unconstitutional. At walang forever, hindi ba? So kaya ang Constitution natin ay pwedeng amyendahan. Amendments to or revision of. O pala kinalaman yung picture, ano po? So ano ba yung amendment? Amendment refers to a change within the lines of the original Constitution. Ibig sabihin, you do not alter the basic principles involved. You are just changing a certain provision in order to adapt to the current needs. On the other hand, revision is a complete rewriting of the Constitution. You need to revise the Constitution by changing almost all the provisions. So why do we need to distinguish amendment from revision? Walang kinalaman yung picture. Because of Article 17, Section 2, that amendments to this Constitution may likewise be directly proposed by the people through initiative. So you can only amend the Constitution if you are using people's initiative. You cannot revise the Constitution using people's initiative. Okay, so that's the idea behind distinguishing amendment from revision, because you cannot revise the Constitution via people's initiative. Okay? Now, what are the tests in order to determine whether the proposal constitutes amendment or revision? According to Lambino versus Comelec, you have the quantitative test. It looks upon the number of provisions that you want to change. The more provisions you want to change, of course, the more that they become revisions and the less they become amendments. But Lambino versus Comelec provided another test. This time ay yung qualitative test. Okay? So qualitative test does not refer to the number of provisions you want changed. It refers to the impact of the proposed changes to the overall structure of the Constitution and to the system of government. So, for example, in quantitative test, you want to change the voting age, Article 5, Section 1, from 18 to 21 years old. That is just an amendment, and since you are just changing a small portion of the Constitution, then under the quantitative test, yun ay amendment lang at hindi revision. Under the qualitative test, you are looking after the impact of the proposed changes to the system. Like for example, Article 2, Section 1. Okay? The Philippines is a democratic and republican state. Very clear, di ba? Democratic, Republican. Now, let us say we change democratic and Republican into just one word. 3 become 1. Hindi, kala ko 2 become 1. So, 3 become 1. The Philippines is a monarchical state. Would that constitute amendment or revision? Under the qualitative test, that would constitute revision. Why? Because it will change the structure of your government. Okay? Magkakaroon ka ng hari. Magkakaroon ka ng reyna. Sus, Ginoo ko, marami magagalit yan. Oh. Ngayon, paano natin babaguhin yung Constitution? Meron tinatawag na Constituent Assembly. But mind you, this is not used by the Constitution. It is only used by people, particularly by Congress. Any amendment to or revision of this Constitution may be proposed by a 3/4 vote of all the members of Congress. So dito, ang problema natin dito, how the voting should be done. Is it joint or separate? The Constitution did not say so. So we need to interpret that. Robin Padilla filed a petition for declaratory relief way back 2024. Kasi nagkaroon kami nagpatawag siya ng public hearing, no? Para dito sa amendment or revision. Why Robin Padilla? Because of all the lawyers in the Senate at the time, doon sa 19th Congress, Robin Padilla was the chairman of the Senate Committee on Constitutional Amendments and Revisions of Codes. Imagine that. Pinatawag niya kami mga nagtuturo ng political law. At saka yung mga framers of the Constitution and other groups, no? So there were about 60 or 50 or 60, something like that. And we were asked our inputs. So sabi ko, when it was my turn to speak, pasensya na po, Your Honor, hindi ko na maalala. But then again, I remember, hindi pala ako lumaki sa farm. At wala akong pogo. So to my mind, sabi ko, that should be separate voting. Why? Outnumbered kayo ng Kongreso, ng House of Representatives, pagka joint voting yan. Plus, in passing a law, the objective of which is just to change the name of a street, separate yung voting nyo, kaya nga may bicameral conference committee pa kayo eh. What more in amending or revising the Constitution? Kaya to si Robin Padilla, in August of 2024, went to the court, filing a petition for declaratory relief, asking the court to rule on how the voting should be done. Is it joint or separate? Kasi yun ang napagkasunduan na dun sa public hearing na kailangan natin dito ng interpretasyon ng korte. Nagmadali siya. So hanggang ngayon, wala pang desisyon ng Korte Suprema. Why? How do you invoke the power of the Supreme Court? Only if there is actual case or controversy. Diba? Is there an actual case or controversy? Wala. Magkakaroon ka ng controversy dyan pagka ipinilit ng House of Representatives that the voting should be joint. At ininsist naman ng Senado that the voting is separate. Kasi alam nyo, when the Constitution wants the voting to be done separately, it is indicated. Like for example, in Article 7, Section 9, when there is vacancy in the office of the Vice President, it is not foreshadowing, Kasi may impeachment ngayon, kayo mag-isip na masama. So if there's vacancy in the office of the Vice President, Article 7, Section 9, tells us that the President nominates a member of the Senate or a member of the House of Representatives, and such nomination needs the confirmation of the majority vote of all the members of Congress voting separately. It is indicated. Na separate ang voting. Now, when the Constitution wants the voting of Congress to be done jointly, it is also indicated. Take a look at Article 7, Section 18. When the President suspends the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus or declares martial law, within 48 hours he has to report to Congress in person and in writing, and such declaration or suspension shall be confirmed or revoked by a majority vote of all the members of Congress voting jointly. Dito hindi sinabi. Ngayon, kung magkakasundo ang House na separate or joint, wala tayong problema. Walang actual case or controversy. Bakit ba kasi nagkaganyan? Kasi, sorry to tell you, ang sabi adopted, pero that is the euphemistic way of saying, kinopya nila yung 1973 Constitution provision, and the 1973 Constitutional provision provided for a unicameral assembly, kaya wala kang problema dyan sa 3/4 vote na yan Assuming na-solve na natin how the voting should be done. So ano mangyayari? Congress converts itself as a constituent assembly to propose revisions or amendment to the Constitution. Sila ang gagawa. Hawak nila ang bit. Okay? So, hindi nakuha yung 3/4, 2/3 lang ang nakuha. Kapag ka 2/3 vote lamang, Congress will enact a law creating a constitutional convention. Okay? 2/3 vote. Hindi Kongreso ang gagawa. It's the Constitutional Convention. Who will compose the Constitutional Convention? Are they elected or appointed? It depends on the law created by Congress. At sila na ang gagawa ng pagbabago sa konstitusyon. Kano sweldo nila? Importante yon. Nasa batas yun. Now, if Congress cannot get, ito, nakakalimutan ito ng iba, no? Lecturers included, if Congress can only get a majority vote of all the members of Congress, again, babalik tayo dun sa separate or joint voting, may problema tayo dun. Assuming it was settled, Congress was only able to get a majority vote. What will happen? Congress then enacts a law asking the people, do you want a constitutional convention? If majority of the voters would say no, then it dies a natural death. Wala na tayong convention. But if the majority of the voters in a plebiscite for that purpose would say, yes, we want to have a convention, then Congress creates a law creating a constitutional convention. Mas mahaba ang proseso kasi majority vote lang ang nakuha. You get the point? Now, who would comprise the convention? It depends on the law. How long shall the work be? It depends on the law. Magkano sweldo nila? Importante yon. Kasi alam nyo, pagka may trabaho, may sweldo. Sabi ko kagabi dun sa mga estudyante ko sa labor law, the general rule is no work, no pay. What are the exceptions? Hindi ka nagtrabaho, nabayaran ka. Ang sagot ba naman ng sir, senator? Ha? Except, bagay, merong hindi pumapasok pero pinapasweldo. Okay? So it depends on the law. Now, under Article 17, Section 2, amendments to this Constitution may likewise be directly proposed by the people through initiative upon the petition of at least 12% of the total number of registered voters. If you have, let's say, 68 million registered voters, we need 12% of that. And in every legislative district, at least 3% of the registered voters therein. Maliwanag itong Article 17, Section 2, na amendments lang ang pwede na People's Initiative. Pag revision, hindi po pwede ang People's Initiative by express provision of the Constitution. Now, the Congress shall provide for the implementation of the exercise of this right. Has Congress provided for a law? Yes, it's Republic Act 6735 na sinubukan nung panahon ni Ramos and it resulted into the case of Santiago versus Comelec. At ang sabi ng Korte Suprema, itong Republic Act 6735 ay kulang, incomplete, inadequate to be the implementing law for People's Initiative in order to amend the Constitution. Okay? So kulang. Pero may dissenting opinion dito si Justice Puno, I believe, at ang sabi niya, sapat na yan. Sa bagay, di ka naman talaga magiging sapat sa isang taong iba na ang hinahanap. Okay? So, binigyan ng permanent injunction ng Comelec. Bakit Comelec? Kasi sila ang nagbe-verify ng mga signatures for petition to amend the Constitution by a People's Initiative. Why? Comelec has the list of voters, registered voters. So, and then, nung panahon ni Gloria Arroyo, another attempt was made by the Lambino Group. Si Attorney Raul Lambino ang nagpasimuno, yung grupo nila, nangalap na naman ng signature para amyendahan ang Constitution by a People's Initiative. Sabi ng Korte Suprema, may ginawa ba kayong pagbabago doon sa Republic Act 6735 which the Supreme Court declared as incomplete in 1997? Ang sagot ng Solicitor General, wala. Hindi naman naamyandahan yung batas So in that case, sabi ng Korte Suprema, there's no need to revisit the Santiago ruling. Why? Wala namang pagbabago Para itong jowa mo. Iniwan mo 9 years ago kasi ayaw mo ng bisyo niya. Ang bisyo niya ay ABS-CBN. Alak babae, sugal, cabaret bar, nightclub. Ang gusto mo, GMA. Ano ba yung GMA? Gentleman all the time. Di iniwan mo. After 9 years, bumabalik sa'yo. At ang sabi, love is sweeter the second time around. Pero ang totoo, sa algebra man o sa tunay na buhay, problema ang ex. Di ba? Hindi ba kayo namang problema sa ex? So, ano nangyari? Tinanong mo, nagbago ka na ba? Sabi niya, hindi. Ba't kita babalikan? So, ganyan na nangyari dito sa Lambino versus Comelec. Walang pagbabago doon sa batas. So, the Supreme Court will not change its ruling. Okay? So, kasama sa inyong syllabus, yung sovereignty. Pagka kayo gusto nyo ng extra income, gumawa kayo ng tindahan ng milk tea. Lagay nyo, sovereignty, the legal milk tea. Bigyan nyo ako ng libre, ha? Okay. So, sovereignty is the supreme power of the state to enforce its will upon its members within its territorial jurisdiction, and we call that internal sovereignty or independent or police power. Diba? Pag law enforcement yan. And to have freedom from foreign control, we call that external sovereignty or independence. Kasarinlan, iba po yung kalayaan sa kasarinlan. Independence is kasarinlan, although ini-equate nila sa kalayaan. Kalayaan is freedom. Now, tinanong sa bar exam, is sovereignty absolute? Sabi ng Tanyada versus Angara, well, generally speaking, it was absolute. But right now, when you join the family of nations, there are certain limitations on your sovereignty. And by the doctrine of incorporation, we incorporate into our laws the generally accepted principles of international law as part of the law of the land. That limits your sovereignty. Kasi inintegrate mo yung principles of international law. Plus, the oldest and most fundamental rule in international law, pacta sunt servanda, that states when they enter into a treaty, ano ba yung pacta sunt servanda? Promises must be fulfilled. Huwag kang paasa. Kasi pag paasa ka, lagi ko sinasabi ito, meron nagkakasakit. At ang sakit, wala'y tambal, sabi sa mga Bisaya ba? Mayong bulong sa Bicol. Ano yon? UTI, umibig tapos iniwan. O kaya umasa tapos inindyan. Nako, delikado, huwag kayong paasa. Okay, so, katulad ng China, pumasok sa United Nations Convention on the Laws of the Sea. Hindi naman tinutupad yung kanyang commitment na igalang ang exclusive economic zone. Yung mga kiniklaim ng China, pati yung mga body supporter, nasa loob ng ating exclusive economic zone. O bakit nandun sila? Hindi lang ginagalang yung commitment nila. Kailan tayo ayaw natin lumaban? Ayaw daw natin ng gera. Di sige, pabayaan nyo na yan. Ayaw nyo ilaban eh. Ano pa silbi ng ating armed forces kapag kaganyan? Sabagay, may sinusunod kasing chain of command eh. What about foreign state-owned enterprise? General rule, hindi dapat sila nag-ooperate dito eh. At saka kung mag-operate man sila, 60-40. Pero under Republic Act 11659 that amended the Public Service Act, pwedeng umabot na ngayon sa 50% yung pag-aari ng itong mga dayuhan na korporasyon. 50%. Dati, 40% lang, 60% Pilipino. Hindi ba ito amendment to the Constitution? Kaya yung National Grid Corporation, in one inquiry in aid of re-election, in aid of legislation rather, may nagsabi na 50% daw ng capital ngayon ng National Grid Corporation, pag-aari ng Pilipinas, pag-aari na ng China kaya pala takot tayo sa China. Ang dami ng investment dito ng China. Ba't natin pinayagan yan? I don't know. Magkano? Ano kaya ang nangyari? Now, the Philippines and China entered into joint seismic marine undertaking. Panahon ito ni Gloria Arroyo para i-exploit at explore yung mga resources sa South China Sea. Kaso hindi naman South China Sea, West Philippine Sea. Dineklara itong unconstitutional ng Korte Suprema kasi 100% Chinese corporation papasok sa joint venture with the Philippine government to explore and exploit the resources in the West Philippine Sea. That's unconstitutional. That violates the Regalian Doctrine, Article 12, Section 2. Ano ba Regalian Doctrine? That waters, all lands of the public domain, water, potential sources of energy, petroleum, natural gas, pati si aling flora at si fauna, they all belong to the state. Gawang exploration at exploitation yan, Filipino citizens or in a joint venture with a foreign corporation, pero ang capital ay 60% pag-aari ng Pilipino. 100% foreign owned yung Chinese oil at Chinese company. Sabi ng Korte Suprema, Bayan versus Arroyo, yan ay unconstitutional. Okay? Oh. Panahon ni Arroyo yan pero ang bilis ng desisyon, 2023. Now, Article 16, Section 3, ano sabi? The state may not be sued without its consent. Ang sabi ng Korte Suprema, that is the royal prerogative of dishonesty. Bakit? Papasok ka sa kontrata, hindi ka pala pwedeng idemanda. May kipag-transact ka, hindi ka pala pwedeng idemanda. Sabagay, wala naman tapat ngayon, di ba? Tanghali na lang ang tapat. Oh. At yung mistype na lang ang honest. Para mga jowa nyo yan eh. Pagkasama mo, connected. Pag tumalikod ka, searching for other devices na ano. Bakit hindi pwedeng idemanda ang Estado? Kasi considering the litigious nature of the Filipinos, wala nang gagawin yung Estado kundi humarap sa korte para harapin yung mga demanda laban sa kanya. Considering the litigious nature of the Filipino people. But take note that immunity is not absolute. Pwede rin maaresto. Iba pala, ibang usapan ito, no? The state may not be sued without its consent, but it is conditional. What if the state gives its consent? Now, how does the state give its consent? Express consent. Paano yung express consent? By law, either a special law or a general law. Like the General Auditing Act, yung Act number 3083. Kasi dati bago naging COA ang tawag dyan, GAO dati yan eh. General Auditing Office. Under the 1987 Constitution, naging Commission on Audit. So pagka merong batas authorizing someone to sue the state, then there is waiver. May consent eh. It can also be made through implied consent. Hindi na yata implied itong dalawa. Parang express na ano. Kailan nagkakaroon ng implied consent? When the state commences litigation. Nagdemanda ka, you are opening yourself to a countersuit. And when the state enters into a contract, merong implied consent to be sued. Diba? Kasi when the state commences litigation, it is opening itself to a countersuit. So merong kang implied waiver of immunity. Now, when the state enters into a contract, may implied waiver of immunity, but take note, it depends on the kind of contract. Because not all contracts entered into by the state would mean waiver of immunity. There are two kinds of contracts that the state may enter into. Number one, contracts which in nature are called iure imperii. Acts or those exercised in a governmental capacity and therefore covered by sovereign immunity. So for example, ito mga kaibigan natin sa DPWH, pumasok sa isang kontrata para magpatayo ng tulay. Natapos na yung project, hindi pa nagbayad ang DPWH, ay parang baliktad. Di ba ngayon, hindi pa tapos yung project, fully paid na. Pag flood control. O kaya ang tawag ng ibang malisyoso sa DPWH ay Departamentong Pera'y winawaldas na mga hudas. Kawawa naman yung mga inosente na walang kinalaman dyan. Yung mga waray-waray, ang sabi ng DPWH, pwede pagwaray hatag. Sus, Ginoo ko. Ididemanda yung DPWH kasi hindi nagbayad. There was breach of contract. Ay, hindi pwedeng idemanda ang DPWH. Bakit? It was in its sovereign or governmental capacity. Bakit? Sino ba gagamit ng kalsada? Di yung mga tao. Public service yan. Hindi negosyo yan. Di ba? Kaya pagka may problema sila sa tubig, ang ginagawa, nagpapatayo ng tulay para they have bridge over troubled waters. Na-joke lang yan. Okay? A contract entered into by the state na pwede siyang mademanda yung acts iure gestionis. Ano ba ito? Ito ay commercial, proprietary, or business. Nagnegosyo yung isang ahensya ng gobyerno. nagbenta ng mga murang bigas. Pwede siya mademanda doon kasi negosyo yun eh. Diba? Pero kung yung pagbebenta niya ng bigas ay palugi para lang matupad yung pangako ng Pangulo na ang bigas ay 20 pesos ang kilo, baka hindi rin ito business. Kasi ang negosyo kumikita at hindi nalulugi, di ba? But take note that suability does not mean liability. Pinayagan ka lang magdemanda, pero hindi ibig sabihin may obligasyon na magbayad ang gobyerno. Pera ng taong bayan yan. Pera pala ng taong bayan, ba't ginagastos nila? Okay? What about diplomatic immunity? Naku, namatay na yung isa dyan. A diplomat shall enjoy immunity from criminal, even civil or administrative cases in the receiving state. Exception, yun mismong Article 31 ng Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations, 1961. There are 3 exceptions there, but for lack of time, pare-pareho lang naman yun. Pakibasa nyo lang if you are interested dun sa exception. Ibig sabihin, sinamarize ito ng Korte Suprema, no? In that case of Westphal versus Locsin. Ang tawag ng Korte ay functional immunity. So kapag ka ikaw ay diplomat, for example, pumasok ka sa isang kontrata, titingnan din natin, applicable din naman yung iure imperie or iure histones. Ngayon, kung dinemanda ka for acts while performing your official functions, there is immunity. Pero kung ito ay personal mo, kanina sa isang bar review lecture may nagtanong, paano po kung isang ambasador pumunta sa bar at nung nalasing na nakipagsuntukan, pwede ba siyang kasuhan criminally? Magandang tanong. Ang sagot ko, yes. Why? Applying the doctrine of functional immunity, yung pakikipag-inuman sa bar, hindi niya function yun. Diba? Unless nag-inuman sila at doon nila pinag-uusapan kung paano papaalisin yung mga Chinese sa West Philippine Sea. O baka official function. Pero bakit sa bar of all places? Di ba? Yun. So tingnan ninyo kung ito ba ay related sa function. Pag hindi related sa kanyang function, do not invoke function immunity because that is not related to his or her function. Okay? The separation of power is guaranteed in our Constitution. Tama? That's why you have Article 6 devoted to legislative. Article 7, executive. Article 9, Article 8, judicial. Article 9, Constitutional Commission. So, separate ang mga powers nito. And may exceptions, di ba? So, minsan, i-delegate yung kapangyarihan. So, what are the violation of separation of powers? Una, interference. Pag nakikialam ang isang department sa trabaho ng isang department, yan po ay violation ng separation of powers. Like for example, katulad ng assumption na rin, yung ang Kongreso ang mag-i-interpret ng batas. That's a violation of the separation of powers because interpretation of laws belong to the Supreme Court. What if the President legislates? Then that's a violation also because he assumes the powers belonging to Congress, legislation. Kaya nung panahon ni President Marcos Sr., may violation ng separation of powers. Bakit? Meron kang batasang pambansa na gumagawa dapat ng batas, but Marcos was creating his own laws in Malacanang at ang tawag ay presidential decree. That is no longer possible under the 1987 Constitution because of the principle of separation of powers. Yet, this separation of power is not absolute kasi may check and balance yan. Congress enacts a law. But the President can veto that law, that bill. Okay? Although Congress can override the veto power of the President, but that is a manifestation of check and balance. The President prepares the budget. It's Congress that approves the budget through the enactment of the General Appropriations Act. Kaya nga nagkakaroon ng mga insertions. Ano ba itong mga insertions na ito? Eh kasi naman, eh, paggawa ng budget, sila mag-a-approve, naglalagay sila ng mga unprogrammed funds. Ibig sabihin, may pondo pero wala talagang specific na gagastusan, which was already declared by the Supreme Court in several cases na unconstitutional. Eh, ginagawa pa rin. Eh, nasa Pilipinas tayo eh. Kung ano yung bawal, yun ang masarap gawin. Di ba? Okay. What about the blending of powers? In reality, bagamat separate yung mga powers na ito, in reality, nagko-coordinate sila eh. Like for example, the president enters into a treaty. It will not become effective unless the treaty is concurred by a two-thirds vote of the members of the Senate. Oh, without such concurrence, the treaty cannot be implemented locally. But, may check pa rin yan. Bagamat inaprubahan ng Kongreso, anyone can challenge it before the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court may declare the treaty to be unconstitutional. Although, bihira naman, wala pa yata ako nabalitaan na treaty na diniklarang unconstitutional, ano? Take a look at the case of Bayan versus Zamora. Ito yung Visiting Forces Agreement. Inaprubahan ng Senado, question ng bayan muna kasi sa mata ng mga Amerikano, it is not a treaty but an executive agreement. So it reached the Supreme Court. Kasi daw sa Amerika, hindi ito sinubmit sa American Senate for its concurrence. Eh sabi ng Korte Suprema, masyado kayo mahigpit. Be liberal in construing it. Ang sabi doon, it is considered as a treaty by the other contracting party. So whether ito ay kinukonsider nila executive agreement or treaty, for as long as they recognize it, okay na tayo dyan. To compel the United States to submit it to its Congress, to its Senate for concurrence would not be within our powers kasi Amerika yun eh. Wala tayong pakialam sa proseso nila. What we are after is that the treaty complies with the requirements of the Constitution, which is concurred by at least two-thirds of the members of the Senate. Okay. So, alam natin that ano sabi doon sa Article 2, Section 1? The Philippines Democratic and Republican State. Sovereignty resides in the people and all government authority emanates from them. But since, ang sabi doon, Democratic and Republican, in a Democratic and Republican state, people cannot exercise directly the power. That is why we delegated it to Congress. Dahil hindi natin ma-exercise yung power na ito of governance, we delegated the power to Congress. We elected our representatives. Sa mga Tagalog, kinatawan. Sa mga Bisaya, kinawatan ba? Sabi ng mga Batanggenyo, ang ating mga manggagatas. Ay, mambabatas pala. So, delegate na natin sa Kongreso yung kapangyarihan. Ang Kongreso, hindi na pwedeng i-delegate pa uli yan. Anong sabi? Potestas delegata, non delegare potest. What has been delegated cannot be delegated anymore. Para nasa opisina, di ba? Inutusan ka ni boss. Eh, merong mas mababa sa'yo, inutos mo rin. Yung inutusan mo, may mas mababa sa kanya. Inutusan niya pa rin. Yung inutusan niya, meron pa palang job order employee na walang employer-employee relationship. Sabi ng Civil Service Commission versus Anang, Abadilla versus Pagcor, job order yan. Uutusan mo rin. Yun. So, unethical. Improper. Bakit? Ikaw na inutusan, inutos mo pa sa iba. Pero sa tunay na buhay, gano'n naman talaga nangyayari. So, hindi mo na pwedeng i-delegate. Ang Kongreso, general rule, di na pwedeng i-delegate yan. Because that is derived from the ethical principle. Dinelegate na sa'yo, wag mo nang i-delegate pa. Di ba? But, the rule has its exception. The power of Congress may be delegated to other bodies. I remember our professor in political law, na mayapa na ito, magaling ito. Si Professor Edwin Sandoval. Yun yung mga professor namin no, si Dean Riano ang Dean, sa taxation law si Francis Sababan, si Professor Sandoval doon sa political law. At hindi masyadong kilala yung mga profesor namin sa labor, pero paborito ko dahil ang gagaling magturo. Mga labor arbiters. Okay? At yung unang appearance ko sa labor case, narapol dun sa paborito kong profesor na labor arbiter. Oh, sabi ko dun sa kalaban, profesor ko ito si ma'am at kasama ko sa faculty ng Baste. Kasi pinagturo ko agad ako ni Dinriano. Sabi ko, kung gusto mong ipa-inhibit, malaking eskwelahan yung kalaban namin eh. Kung gusto mo ipa-inhibit, pa-inhibit mo, hindi ako magrereklamo. Sabi niya, no, let her decide on the merits. Di kampante ako. Bakit? Pagka natalo ako dito sa unang labor case ko, mali ang itinuro ni arbiter sa akin. True enough, nanalo ako. Ayun, on appeal, sinabi niya na bias daw si arbiter. Sabi ko, itong taong ito, yan ang tinatawag na avatar. Bakit avatar? Avatarantado, bakit ganyan ang ugali mo? Sinabi ko na pa-inhibit mo, ayaw mo ipa-inhibit. Nung matalo ka, saka mo sasabihin bias. Di ba? Hindi dapat one-sided. Ang judge. Pero alam niyo, naintindihan ko naman si Robin Padilla eh. With all the flux na natanggap niya, i-depensa naman natin. Ganito, di ba sinabi niya dapat hindi one-sided ang prosecution? Hindi niya lang na-express na maayos eh. Galing yun sa isang desisyon ng Korte Suprema. Nasabi ng Korte Suprema, the duty of the prosecution is not really to prosecute or to convict, but rather to see that justice is done. Kaya lang mahirap tagalugin yun eh. Sabi niya, dapat hindi one-sided. So na-misinterpret. Kasi naman, di ba, kahit na prosecutor ka, kung sa tingin mo wala namang kasalanan talaga yung tao, hindi ka tatanggi na ma-acquit siya. Pero ito para sa mga public prosecutors na mga piskal. Iba kasi ang impeachment proceeding. Ano sabi ng Korte Suprema? It's a political exercise, a political proceeding. It's sui generis. Not civil, not criminal, not even administrative. Political trial yan eh. Di ba? Okay. So, kanino pwedeng i-delegate itong kapangyarihan ng Kongreso? Ayan. Siyempre, petal ang sabi ni Professor Sandoval. People. Letter P. Under Article 6, Section 1 and 32, yung initiative and referendum. Okay? Emergency powers to the executive, kaya letter E. In times of war or national emergency, certain powers may be delegated by Congress to the President. Taxing powers under Section 28, Paragraph 2 of Article 6 may be delegated to the President. And administrative agencies. When Congress creates an administrative agency, it necessarily delegates the rule-making power as well as adjudicatory power, quasi-legislative and quasi-judicial power. Why? Mawawalang silbi ang administrative agency kung wala siyang delegated power. Like for example, Congress rationalized, well, in effect, creating the NLRC, National Labor Relations Commission. Hindi magpa-function ng NLRC kung wala siyang rule-making power. And true enough, NLRC has now a new rule. Inamyendahan yung 2011 NLRC Rules of Procedure at ito na ngayon yung 2025 NLRC Rules of Procedure that took effect on January 13, 2026. Yan ang sinusunod niya sa NLRC, mas mahigpit at mas maayos. Amending the old rule. That's the rule-making power. Basically, the rules implemented, promulgated and implemented by administrative agencies within the scope of their powers are having the force and effect of a law. Congress na dapat gumagawa ng batas, diba? Pero dinelegate niya ito. Kasi baka masyado nang busy ang Kongreso. Now, on the other hand, NLRC adjudicates. Nagpa-file ka ng kaso. Di ba? At ang NLRC magdedesisyon. That's quasi-judicial power. That is also delegated by a law. Anong batas? Labor Code as amended. Ano yung amendment? Republic Act 9347 in the year 2007. And then, of course, yung local government units. The local government units are delegated with sufficient powers under the Constitution through the enactment of Republic Act 7160, the Local Government Code. Kasi ang local government units, for example, ay walang inherent police power, power of eminent domain, and the power of taxation. They are all delegated by Congress through the enactment of Republic Act 7160, known as the Local Government Code. At sino ang tatay ng Local Government Code? Eh di siyempre, yung former Senator Ney Pimentel, na tatay ni Coco. Tanong ko lang, bakit puro father, walang mother? Napapalabas ako dyan sa classroom ng high school ako eh. Kasi meron daw father of genetics, si Johann Gregor Mendel. Father of history, itong sino ba yun? Si Herodotus. Tinanong ko yung teacher ko sa chemistry dahil sinabi niya yung father of chemistry. Ay ko, ma'am, bakit wala pong mother? Sabi, nang gugulo ka lang eh, get out. Ba't ba itong mga teacher na ito, ayaw na tinatanong sila? Sabi ko, paglaki ko, hindi ko gagayahin yung mga yan. Pero wala naman akong balak magturo eh. Kaya lang out of necessity, napunta ako sa education, abay, masarap palang magturo. Experience is the best teacher, sabi nila. Pero may narinig ako, ewan ko, maniniwala kayo, sabi nila, teacher is the best experience. Okay, so joke lang siguro yun. So, the local government units are delegated with sufficient power at para magawa nila yung trabaho ng national government in the local level. Bakit kailangan i-delegate? Through delegation, Congress may devote more time to address more pressing matters. Diba? Kaysa naman sa kayo pa mag-imbestiga ng mga krimen, eh meron namang NBI, meron namang police. Concentrate your efforts and your resources on legislation that would make the lives of people better. Kaso hindi better, bitter na tayo lahat sa ginagawa nila eh. Now, when Congress delegates its powers, there are two tests that must be satisfied. One, the completeness test, and two, the sufficient standards test. Yung completeness test requires that before the law, when the law leaves Congress, it is complete in all essential elements so that there's nothing left for the delegate but to enforce it, implement it. Hindi niya kailangang i-interpret. And there shall be sufficient standards so that the delegate would be working within the parameters allowed by law. Like for example, itong gumawa ng Commission on Higher Education, Republic Act 7722. Wala sa kapangyarihan ng CHED ang mag-regulate ng mga review centers. And there was a time na itong si Gloria Arroyo nag-issue ng executive order authorizing CHED together with the PRC to regulate the review centers. So yung Review Centers Association of the Philippines went to the Supreme Court challenging the validity of the executive order, and the Supreme Court said it is unconstitutional. Why? Wala ito doon sa kapangyarihan na ibinigay ng batas sa CHED at sa PRC. Ang argumento kasi ng PRC, it is the PRC that administers the licensure exam. Therefore, ang PRC ang may kapangyarihan na mag-regulate ng mga review centers. At isinama yung Commission on Higher Education. Sabi ng Korte Suprema, kung ganyan ang isip nyo, might as well the Supreme Court should regulate the bar review centers. Why? It's the Supreme Court that administers the bar exam. And the Supreme Court is not even doing that. So why would you do that? Diba? So may parameters kung hanggang saan ang trabahong gagawin mo so that your acts will not be declared as ultra vires acts. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, both tests are needed. Masatisfy yung sufficient standards at yung completeness test. And that's the reason why Republic Act 6735 was declared incomplete because according to the court, kulang yung batas nyo at insufficient yung standard, masyado nyong in-empower ang COMELEC. Kaya hindi po pwede yan. And COMELEC was issued a permanent injunction not to entertain any petition for verification of signatures for purposes of amending the Constitution via People's Initiative. Okay? And then, the state as a state has inherent powers. Police power, taxation, and the power of eminent domain. Police power is one of them. It is the most comprehensive, least limitable, all-encompassing of all the powers of the state. It may regulate rights and liberty for the promotion of the common good. Take note that it is Congress that has that police power, but Congress can delegate that to the local government units through the sanggunian, yung kanilang lawmaking body. Walang inherent police power ang local government units. This is delegated by Congress through the Local Government Code, Republic Act 7160. Now, the MMDA as it is today has no police power. Paano nagpapatupad ng batas ang MMDA? Hindi gumagawa ng policies ang MMDA. The policies being enforced by MMDA ay galing sa mga local government units kasi sila ang may delegated police power. Kaya nakalagay dyan, bawal tumawid. Hindi yung policy ng MMDA, policy ito ng mga local government units. Ang nanguhuli lang yung MMDA, law enforcement lang sila. Okay? So pinalitan uli. Dahil hindi naman sinusunod. Nilagay, walang tawiran na kamamatay. Hindi pa rin sinunod. Nung si Chairman Tolentino, ito si Francis Tolentino na ngayon ay Secretary of Labor, dating chairman ng MMDA yan, ang inilagay niya, walang tawiran, may namatay na. Okay? So, hindi pa rin sinunod. Kung huwag niyo akong gagawin chairman ng MMDA, papalitan ko lahat ng karatula niyo, ilalagay ko, walang tatawid, papatayin. Baka sakali sumunod na, ano? Pero ang MMDA, walang police power. Sino ba kasi ang author nito? Abay, si Tito Sen. Senator Tito Soto. Hindi man lang daw binigyan ng police power ang MMDA. Naggawa ka ng ahensya, wala palang police power. Paano naman tayo niyan? Okay? Baka lang nakalimutan. Pero nagpa-function naman eh. Kahit wala siyang police power. Now, what about the power of eminent domain? The constitutional basis is Article 3, Section 9, that private property shall not be taken for public use without just compensation. Eminent domain is also referred to as expropriation or condemnation. Bakit condemnation? Kinukondena yung iyong property, kukunin, di mo naman papakinabangan. Pero dapat bayaran ka naman ng just compensation. And take note that once the property is expropriated, natural, for public use, it must remain for public use. Okay? Hindi po pwedeng ma-revert into private use. Halimbawa, ito ay public market, ginawang public market yung property mo. Okay? Tapos, nalulugi na yung public market kasi may nagtayo ng mall, hindi ko nababanggit yung pangalan, 2 letra lang naman kadalasan yan, may supermarket siyang air condition at mabango. Hindi katulad ng public market, maputik, maraming langaw. Edi nagpunta yung mga tao dun sa supermarket, nalugi yung public market. Sabi nung nag-expropriate na local government unit, ibenta na natin ito para gawing condominium. Pwede ba yon? Bawal. Kasi once devoted to public use after expropriation, it must remain for public use regardless kung anong gamit mo dyan. So pwede mong gawing basketball court, basta public pa rin. Gawin mong sabungan, public pa rin. Gawin mong socialized housing. Pwede yon, sabi ng Korte Suprema doon sa kaso nung City of Manila versus Prieto. Yung socialized housing ay public use yan. Pero in one rare case, ito yung property na inexpropriate ng PNR, Philippine National Railway. Naalala ko yun nung bata pa kami. Yung mga bagay ako hindi ko na-experience sa sumakay ng PNR papuntang Bicol eh. Lagi kaming bus noon. O kaya aeroplano, di ba? May aeroplano naman. Bus. Yan, ginamit ng PNR yung property nitong Porform Development Corporation. And expropriate. Ang problema, hindi na ginagamit ng PNR, ito yata yung dyan sa Paco, yung estasyon ng PNR dyan, Philippine National Railways. So, hindi na ginagamit. Ang gusto ngayon ng PNR, i-convert into private use. Di nag-offer ngayon itong former owner. Kami na lang uli ang bibili. Kasi amin naman yan. Hindi nyo pala gagamitin, balik nyo sa amin. Sabi ng PNR, di ba hindi po pwedeng ibalik ito sa private? Sabi ng Korte Suprema, payagan mo. Kasi siya naman ang may-ari eh. In-expropriate mo yung property niya, hindi mo na ginagamit for public use, pwede mong ibalik sa kanya. Pero syempre, babayaran yan. Baka mas mahal na ang bayad, hindi ba? Okay. Now, for national government projects, Katulad ng Air Force, nakalista dyan sa Republic Act 12,289. What constitutes a national government project? So kailangan mo ng right of way, ito na ang gagamitin, yung arrow. General rule, when the government expropriates private property, we follow the procedure in Rule 67. Okay? But if it is a case of acquisition of right of way for national government project, we follow the arrow. Ano ba yung arrow? Accelerated Reformed Right of Way Act. That in acquiring a private property for public use, it may be done through donation. Kaya lang national government project All other projects na hindi national government, the acquisition of right of way ay Rule 67 of the Rules of Court. But for national government project, it's the arrow. Okay, baka magalit nito yung mga Eagles kasi yung arrow doon nito sa di ba, Lasal. Yung Ateneo, yung Eagle, Donation! O baka gusto mo i-donate na lang sa gobyerno yan. Ano naman kapalit yan? The altruistic feeling that you have contributed to the public good. Ano kung napakagandang compensation yan. Pwede naman negotiated sale. Pag-usapan na lang natin, wag na tayo magdemandahan. Ngayon, ayaw niya negotiated sale. O, edi expropriate natin. Sino yung gumuhit dun sa aking screen? Naguhitan. Ayan. O kaya, other mode of acquisition provided by law. So maraming options kayo ng gobyerno. Hindi lang expropriation. That is only for acquisition of right of way for national government project. Okay? So, ngayon, the LGU has no inherent power of eminent domain. It is delegated by Congress according to Section 16 of the Local Government Code. Ito yung yung General Welfare Clause, no? So, ang sabi ng Korte Suprema, there is no inherent power of eminent domain, even taxation. Walang inherent power of taxation ng local government units. These powers are delegated by Congress through Republic Act 7160. Okay? Ngayon, puntahan natin yung legislative power that is vested in Congress. Okay? Which is consisting of the chambers, two chambers, the Senate and the House of Representatives. Sabi ng Abacada Guru Party List versus Purisima. Legislative power is the power to propose or enact, amend, and repeal laws. The exercise of legislative power must be done by both chambers of Congress. One chamber cannot enact a law. Cannot legislate. Hindi lalo na yung mga committees nila. Now, however, the grant of legislative power is plenary. Congress can legislate on anything. It's comprehensive. The only limitation are the inherent limitations provided under the Constitution, particularly under Article 2 and Article 3. Ano yung Article 2? For example, the Declaration of Principles and State Policies. Anong sabi doon? Article 2, Section 6, the separation of church and state shall be inviolable. E di nag-legislate halimbawa itong Kongreso ng isang batas na sinasabing ang gobyerno ay pwede nang magkaroon ng state religion. O di nawala na yung separation of church and state. And that also violates the constitutional provision, sabi sa Article 3, Section 5, that no law shall be made respecting the establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. The non-establishment clause would be violated. So those are the inherent limitation on the power of Congress to legislate. But Congress can legislate on anything. In fact, pati pagpapalit ng pangalan ng kalsada So kaya yung dating Roosevelt Avenue sa Quezon City, yung mga taga Quezon City. Ako, I grew up in Quezon City. Most of my life was spent in Novaliches. Kaya lang, nung nag-asawa ako, inuwi ako sa kanila Okay? Kaya napunta ako sa Rizal. Mm. So, Roosevelt Avenue. Ano na pangalan ngayon? Fernando Po Jr. Avenue na yun, di ba? Oh. By legislation yan. Okay? So anything can be the subject of legislation. Now take a look at the Senate. Ito yung Senate noong 1916 to 1919. Karamihan, abogado, no? Wala ditong able to read and write lang eh. Nagbabago ang panahon eh. Oh. The Senate is a continuing body. Tandaan na hindi porke natapos yung term nung 6 na senador, anim na taon, 12 senador natatapos. May kasunod eh. Di ba may naiiwan na 12 eh. That was intentionally made by the Constitution in 1995 elections. Para magpapatuloy. Kaya yung business that were not completed by the previous Senate can be continued by the next Senate. It's the Supreme Court saying that. The conduct of its day-to-day business, the Senate of its Congress acts separately and independently the Senate of the Congress before it, but it continues. Okay? Now, take note that only Congress can create a province or city. That's why when Bangsamoro, hindi pa, ARMM pa noon, Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, created a province out of the barangays in Cotabato, Maguindanao, at saka dun sa Lanao yata napasama. It's known as the province of Sharif Kabunsuan. According to the Supreme Court, that is unconstitutional because only Congress can create a province or city. Why? As early as 1999, sabi ng Korte Suprema, the power to create, divide, merge, abolish, or substantially alter boundaries of local government units belongs to Congress. This power is part of the larger power to enact laws which the Constitution vested in Congress. The exercise of the power must be in accordance with the mandate of the Constitution. Ngayon, pag nag-create ka ng bagong probinsya o kaya city, municipality, or barangay, kailangan magkaroon ka ng plebiscite or referendum. Kasi, yan ang sinasabi ng Article 9, or Article 10, Section 10, that except in accordance with the criteria established in the local government code and subject to the approval of the majority of the votes cast in a plebiscite in the political units directly affected. Kaya there was a time na itong Novaliches, which is part of Quezon City right now, ay gusto maging city. There was a law. No? Nagkaroon siyempre ng referendum. At pinaboto, pati yung mga taga Quezon City natural, edi na-overwhelm yung mga botante ng Novaliches. So hindi natuloy. Kasi yan ang sabi ng Constitution. Lahat ng maapektuhang political units ay kailangang bumoto in a plebiscite or referendum. Interchangeably used naman ang plebiscite at referendum. Okay? So, there must also be a referendum for creating a municipality. At kaya nung magkaroon ng bagong probinsya, yung Maguindanao del Norte at Maguindanao del Sur, ay nagkaroon ng referendum. At bumoto ang almost 98% of the registered voters, bumoto. At overwhelming majority, ang sabi nila, yes, we divide the province kasi masyadong malaki. Now, be careful in dividing a province or a district. Kasi baka magresulta ito sa gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is the term used when there is a law that apportioned a district, nare-redistrict, to favor a candidate or a political party. Bakit gerrymandering? It all started in the 1800s. 1812. Itong si Governor Elbridge Gerry ng Massachusetts ay pumirma ng isang bill na nare-redistrict itong Massachusetts, nag-create ng mga bagong distrito. Yung pala, ang intensyon, paboran yung mga kakampi niya sa partido na hindi nananalo para may matakbuhang district. Sounds familiar? Tapos, nung makita yung bagong map ng redistricted Massachusetts, nakalimutan ko yung pangalan eh. Reporter ito ng Boston Globe, Boston Gazette. Ha? Boston is the capital of Massachusetts at nandiyan yung Celtics syempre. Sabi niya, it looks like salamander. But then again, let's call it gerrymander. Bakit gerrymander? Galing kay Elbridge Gerry at mukhang salamander yung mapa. Yun. Oh. Tapos, there was a law dividing Palawan into 3. Oh. Eh di nagkaroon ng plebisito. Nireject ito ng mga tao dahil may disposito. Hindi, iba yan. Oh, nireject ng mga Palawenyo. Bakit? Eh mahirap divide ang Palawan sa 3. Magiging Palawan, Pala 2, Pala 3. Eh pangit yun. So Palawan lang talaga. Okay? But when the province of Dinagat Island was created and the Republic Act 9355, well, the overwhelming majority of the people voted yes para magkaroon ng Dinagat Island Province. O, yan. So, in Congress, there are 2 kinds of representatives. Una, yung district representatives comprising of 80% of the members of Congress, including the party list. At yung party list naman ay 20% of all the members of Congress, including those in the party list. O, kaya, ito yung mga parameters under Republic Act 7941. Ha? At tayo ay magtatayo din ng party list dahil marginalized na tayo mga lalaki. Tatawagin nating UHAW, Union of Husbands Afraid of Their Wives. Okay. So the party list, 20%. Okay? At yung nakakuha ng 2% ng total votes cast for the party list, kasi hindi naman lahat bumoboto sa party list, ay makakakuha ng 1 guaranteed seat in Congress. Okay? So, 20% allocation, 2% threshold. Pag hindi ka nakakuha ng 2%, disqualified ka, wala kang seat. And 3-seat limit. So, yung nakakuha ng more than 2% ay may additional seat. Pero hindi siya lalagpas sa 2 additional seats. That's for proportional representation. Ibig sabihin, kahit naka 10% ka ng boto, 3 seats lang ang maximum mo. Okay? Now, in that case of Veterans Federation versus COMELEC, sabi ni Justice Panganiban, yung 20% hindi kailangan punuin on any given election. That is only the ceiling or the limitation. Hindi kailangan punuin. Kasi ganito ang sitwasyon no? Lahat, palagay natin na yung 20% ay 80 seats. 80 seats. Okay? Ilan ba ang nakaupo ngayon? Lahat-lahat sila ay 318 dapat. May na isang natanggal. Kaya naging 317. Si Congressman Barsaga, di ba natanggal? Oh, okay, pag-usapan natin yan. Ang problema, 20% dito ay sa party list. So palagay natin 80 ang allotted for the party list. The rest, district representative. Sa Veterans Federation, yung Panganiban formula, first round, COMELEC ang nag-allocate, depende sa kanilang boto, no? Lahat na nakakuha ng 2%, meron kayong isang seat. 40 ang nabigyan. Yung nakakuha ng more than 2%, may extra seats sa second round, but not more than 2 seats. So kaya kahit na naka 8% ka, 2% na lang, 2 seats na lang ang bibigay sa'yo para maging maximum na 3. Okay? Second round, yung 80, ang napuno ay 60. 60 seats na. So may 20 seats ka pang kulang. Eh wala nang nakakuha ng 2% eh. In the Panganiban formula, okay na tayo dyan. Huwag na natin punuin kasi that is only the ceiling. Now, in 2009, lumabas yung kasong Banat versus COMELEC. Bakit Banat? Barangay Association for National Advancement and Transparency. Kaya Banat, party list. Ayan. Ano nangyari? Sabi ni Justice Carpio, hindi natin po pwedeng ipagpatuloy na yung 20% hindi po punuin. Kailangan nating punuin yan. That is the constitutional mandate Ang tanong dito, paano nga kung wala nang nakakuha ng 2%? Yun, doon lumabas yung amendment doon sa panganiban formula. Sa panganiban, dalawa lang ang rounds. Pag hindi napuno yung 80, okay na tayo doon, may bakante. But in Banat versus Comelec, may third round ka na. Ano yung third round? Lahat ng hindi nakakuha ng at least 2%, irarank mo siya. Okay? Tapos, kung ilan yung bakanting upuan, in our example, there are 20 seats available. So yung first 20 sa ranking may makukuhang 1 seat. Even if they did not get at least 2% of the votes for the party list. So napakadali ngayon maging congressman sa party list. Basta marami kang boto kahit di ka makakuha ng 2%. Kaya pag tiningnan ninyo yung nanalo sa party list election nitong 2025, magugulat kayo may nakakuha ng 0.61. Wala pang 1%. May isang upuan sa Kongreso. Why? Because of the Banat formula. At ito ay challenge at lumabas yung angkla, hindi akla ha, angkla versus Comelec, affirming the decision of the court in Banat versus Comelec. So there's no need to revise that ruling, sabi ng Korte Suprema. Okay? That's the newest, yung angkla. Hindi akla ha, angkla. Yung angladlad party list ay sumali noong 2010 elections. Actually, 2007 pa nga eh. Ang problema, dinisqualify ng Comelec on religious ground. Kasi daw bawal sa Biblia yung mga LGBT. At kinukot pa yung Romans chapter 1 verse 26 to 27 that they have exchanged the natural use of women for that of men. Women to men, women to women, men to men. Burning themselves with lust and desires. Yun ang sabi ng Comelec. Pero sabi ng Korte Suprema, hindi nyo pwedeng gamitin yung biblical principle doon sa mga secular discourse. Why not? Kasi pag ginamit natin yan, marami tayong constitutional provision na malalabag. Una, yung non-establishment clause. Pangalawa, yung religious freedom. Paano yung mga hindi naniniwala sa relihiyon? Halimbawa, may isang grupo ng mga atheist or agnostics, nagtayo ng party list. Ang mga hindi mananampalataya sa Diyos, i-disqualify natin simply because they do not believe in God? Hindi po pwede yan. Okay? So dati-rati, political parties are not allowed to participate in the party list elections. But in that case of Atong Paglaom versus Comelec, pwede nang mag-participate ang mga political parties provided they do not field a district representative candidate. Okay? Wala kang district representative. Pero even if you fielded a district representative candidate, you can still participate via the sectoral wing. Halimbawa, Liberal Party Youth Sector. In itself, pwedeng party list yun. Okay? Yun ang problema. So kaya tama si Presidente Duterte at one point Sabi niya, itong party list system na ito, na-bastardize na ito Anybody can just have a congressional seat via the party list, which I think is true. Okay? Under Section 11 of Article 6, there is freedom from arrest. A senator or member of the House of Representatives shall in all offenses punishable by not more than 6 years imprisonment be privileged from arrest while Congress is in session. There are two things that you have to remember. Una, yung penalty for the crime charge is punishable by not more than 6 years. Yung kaso nitong si Senador Estrada ay plunder. That is reclusion perpetua to death under Republic Act 7080. So even if Congress is in session, he can be arrested. Okay? At pagka nakakulong na po, pwede bang mag-participate sa mga proceedings ng Kongreso? That was answered by the Supreme Court in that case of People versus Halos-Hos. Does membership in Congress exempt an accused from statutes and rules which apply to validly incarcerated persons in general? The court said no. The court cannot validate badges of inequality. Porke elected ka sa public office, iba ang treatment sa'yo. Pwede kang magtrabaho kahit nakakulong ka. Samantalang yung ordinaryong Juan de la Cruz pag nakakulong, ay hindi na pinapayagan magtrabaho. Due process. Anong due process pinagsasabi nyo? Kaya nga nakakulong kasi may due process, hindi ba? Non-bailable yung kaso eh. Okay? Ang due process sa korte. At magkaiba po yung due process requirement para dun sa search warrant at warrant of arrest at hindi ito applicable sa subpoena. Pwede kayo magpunta dun sa Facebook ko at may mga post tayo dyan. O kaya dun sa YouTube channel. Okay? Election to the position of congressman. Well, in this case, senator is not a reasonable classification in criminal law enforcement. Hindi porke senador ka o congressman ka, exempted ka na from following our laws. Kung nakakulong, hindi po pwedeng bumoto. Now, what about parliamentary immunity? No member shall be questioned, member ito ng Congress, or be held liable in any other place for any speech or debate in Congress or any committee thereof. Itong si Senator Trillanes, marami siyang mga allegations noon ng corruption laban kay Vice President Binay. Sabi niya, overpriced daw yung building doon sa Makati, sa University of Makati. Yung contractor na nagtayo ng building, sabi niya da-damage yung reputation niya Dinimanda niya itong si Senator Trillanes for damages. Itong si Senator Trillanes, pinapadismiss yung kaso, which was docketed at the court of Judge Marigomen of RTC Quezon City. Dahil sabi niya, under the Constitution, merong kaming parliamentary immunity. We shall not be held liable for any speeches or debate made in Congress or any committees thereof. Sabi ng Korte Suprema, sige, nakalagay yan dyan sa Constitution. But when you become senator or congressman, you did not become a super citizen. Na lahat ng sasabihin mo, hindi ka po pwedeng managot. Panagutin mo yan kasi meron kang pananagutan doon sa mga private individuals who are claiming na nagkaroon ng damages because of your expose. Kaya ito ginilagay dyan ng konstitusyon, not for your indulgence, but for the public good. Bakit? Para makapag-imbestiga kayo ng tama at maprotektahan ang interes ng mamamayan. Ano naman yung conflict of interest? All members of the Senate and the House of Representatives shall, upon assumption of office, make a full disclosure of their financial and business interest. They shall notify the House concerned of a potential conflict of interest that may arise from the filing of a proposed legislation which they are authors. Bakit napunta itong si Mark dyan? Sabi niya kasi, wala na siyang interest dun sa prime water. Ano ba yung prime water? Contractor ito dun sa mga local government units, dun sa local water district na mag-supply ng tubig. May mga kaibigan tayo nagsasabi na nasa area sila ng prime water. Ito outside Metro Manila ito Kasi dun sa mga areas ng Metro Manila, kasama yata ang Cavite, Manila Water at Maynilad. Pero dun sa labas ng Metro Manila, hindi kayang saklawin ng Maynilad at Manila Water ng mga concessionaires ng MWSS. Ang nagpapatakbo ng tubig nila, water system, ay yung local water districts under Presidential Decree 198. That's why they are considered quasi-GOCCs. Now, ang ginawa ng Prime Water, pumasok sa kontrata with the local water districts. Sila na mag-supply ng tubig. Sabi ng mga kaibigan natin, nagbabayad naman sila monthly, walang tubig sa gripo. Kung meron man daw, mas malakas pa yung luha ni Pia Cayetano kaysa doon sa tubig nila sa gripo. Paano naman tayo niyan? Pero sabi naman itong si Senator Mark, wala na siyang interest or wala siyang share. Pero di ba, bilyar ang may-ari niyan? Wala na daw siya Yun ang sabi. Okay? So, conflict of interest is defined under Republic Act 6713 as, a public official or employee is a member of a board, an officer or a substantial stockholder of a private corporation or owner or a substantial interest in a business. And the interest of such corporation or business or his rights or duties therein may be opposed to or affected by the faithful performance of official duty. Yung congressman, May sariling construction company. Naku, marami yan. Tapos sila ang nangontrata sa DPWH. O kaya, pagka yung budget ng DPWH ang pinag-uusapan sa Kongreso during budget hearing, abay ini-increase yung pala may mga pa-reserba para doon sa kanilang mga construction company. Kaya ang tawag ay contractors. Congressman na contractor. Kaya nagtatampo yung mga tao, bakit hindi nyo imbestigahan yan? Bakit inuna nyo yung Vice President? Dapat lahat managot. Diba? Walang sinisino, walang kinikilingan, walang pinoprotektahan, serbisyong totoo lamang, pasok. Okay, so what do we mean by incompatible office? Incompatible office is when a member of Congress, a senator or a congressman, is appointed to any government office. Alam nyo, that violates the principle of separation of powers. Why? Nasa Kongreso ka, yan ay legislative. Tatanggap ka ng appointment sa executive, tatawid ka, at the same time, pareho mo ginagawa, ay bawal yan. Therefore, once you accepted appointment in any government office, you have to relinquish your position in Congress. Automatic forfeiture yan. Di wag mo nilang tanggapin. Di ba naman pinipilit eh. In one case, itong si Congressman Liban, Liban absent yun? Hindi, pangalan niya, apelido yan. Ay nagpunta sa Korte Suprema, isinusumbong itong si Dick Gordon. Kasi daw si Dick Gordon, bagamat senador na ng Pilipinas, ay chairman ng Philippine Red Cross. Sabi ng Korte Suprema, wala namang incompatible dyan. Bakit? The chairman of the Philippine National Red Cross is not a government office. So this is not a case of an incompatible office. Okay? Now, hindi rin sila pwedeng magkaroon ng financial interest doon sa mga bagay-bagay na sila ang nagre-regulate or sila ang gagawa ng batas during their term. Ayun na nga ang problema natin eh. Nagkakaroon ng mga insertions. O kaya sabi ng Korte Suprema in the case of Belhica versus Ochoa, clearly allowing legislators to intervene in the various phases of project implementation. Diba? Pork barrel ito eh. Ngayon, hindi na pork barrel ang tawag. Ano na? Insertion. Unprogrammed funds. May pondo, hundreds of billions, wala namang item kung saan gagastusin. Kaya lumalaki yung budget. Saan ba nanggagaling yung budget niya? Inuutang natin yan eh. Sino nagbabayad yan? Abay, taxes natin. Kaya pinagbawal yung pork barrel na ito. Tapos ginawa naman nila ngayong insertion. Unprogrammed funds. Talagang walang kasawaan itong mga taong ito no, pagdating sa pera. Sana ang pera yung malalaking bato para mahirapan silang buhatin. O kaya yung pera may kuryente na pag hindi para sa iyo, kinuha mo, makukuryente ka. Di ang saya-saya sana noon, di ba? Yun. So, sabi ng mga supporters ng Vice President, ipa-impeach din natin ang mga senador at congressman. Sorry po, hindi sila impeachable officers under Article 11, Section 1. So how do we remove a sitting senator or congressman? Mag-file ka ng complaint sa Ethics Committee. And under Section 13 o Section 16, Paragraph 3, kailangan nila ng 2/3 vote of all the members of the chamber. At ang penalty ay suspension or expulsion as member of Congress. Kaya itong si Congressman Miao Miao ay tinanggal. May ethics complaint, nagbotohan yung mga miyembro ng House of Representatives and they were able to get more than 2/3 eh. So kaya na-expel siya. For what? For disorderly behavior. Ang problema natin, what constitutes disorderly behavior is up to Congress to define. Yan ang sabi ng Korte Suprema. Okay? So, hindi makikialam ang Korte. Yung bang pagpo-post ng mga, mga pinost niya tungkol dun sa mga kasama niyang babae sa kanyang Facebook, would that constitute disorderly behavior? Sabi ng Korte Suprema, as early as 1960, in that case of Osmeña versus Pendaton, What constitutes disorderly behavior is entirely up to Congress to define, respecting the principle of separation of powers. Okay? Both chambers of Congress ay merong electoral tribunals that serves as the sole judge of all contests relative to election returns and qualification of candidates for either the Senate or the House when they become members of the Senate or the House. May Senate Electoral Tribunal, may House of Representatives Electoral Tribunal. Anong jurisdiction nito? For all election contest after proclamation. Kailan ba nagiging miyembro ng House or ng Senado ang isang kandidato? After proclamation and taking the oath of office. So pag na-proklama na yan ng COMELEC at nag-take na ng kanyang oath as congressman or senador, ay yung mga contest mo dyan tungkol sa qualification, doon mo nadadalhin sa either the Senate Electoral Tribunal or the House of Representatives Electoral Tribunal. Ayan, may gumagapang dun sa ating screen at naguguhitan yung ating screen. And then meron ding commission on disappointment. Commission on appointment. Makapangyarihan yan. Bakit? It is in charge of all what? Of all the appointments, confirmation, rejection of the appointments of the President under Article 7, Section 16. Sino ang chairman nito? Ex officio, the Senate President. But he does not vote except in cases of a tie. 12 senators, 12 members of the House of Representatives based on their party affiliation, proportional representation dun sa kanilang mga parties. Makapangyarihan yan kasi lahat ng mga politikong gustong magpa-appoint, dadaan sa commission on appointment. At syempre, alam nyo na ang kalakaran dyan. Under Section 21 of Article 6, the Senate or the House of Representatives or any of the respective committees may conduct inquiries in aid of re-election. In aid of legislation. Pwede bang pagbawalan ng presidente as what President Arroyo did in that case of Senate versus Ermita? Sabi ng Korte Suprema, pag Section 21, ito po ay plenary at walang kailangang permiso from the President of the Philippines. But there are limitations on inquiries in aid of re-election, in aid of legislation. Una, the inquiry must be in aid of legislation. So, yung inquiry na ito, meron kayong magagawang batas. May aamyandahan kayong batas. The inquiry must be conducted in accordance with the duly published rules of procedure. Nakapublish ba yung rules and procedure nila? At pangatlo, the rights of persons appearing or affected by the inquiry must be respected because in reality, they are not yet suspects. They are resource persons. Kaya lang pag napag-initan, o baka hindi sumunod sa rules, o feeling nitong mga miyembro ng Kongreso ay nadidisrespect sila, they are cited in contempt. Pwede ba yung contempt na yan? Pwede. And the penalty is detention, hindi fine, ha? Detention. Now, saan i-detain? Abay, bahala dito ang Kongreso, yung committee na magdesisyon kung saan ikukulong. Kaya one time, merong isang chief of staff, umiiyak kasi ililipat daw siya magmula sa House of Representatives dahil na-cite in contempt, dahil ayaw sumagot, tungkol ito dun sa investigasyon ng mga confidential fund, ayaw sumagot dun sa mga tanong ng congressman, diniklarang, she was cited in contempt. Tapos later on, ililipat daw doon sa Correctional Institution for Women. Nagalit. Kasi daw, wala na bang karapatan yung mga tao? Yes, may karapatan. Kaya lang, yung detention ay hindi sa House. Sino magpapasya? Abay natural yung mga members of the committee na nag-iimbestiga. In fact, if you look back into the case of Arnold versus Nazareno, ito si Arnold Schwarzenegger, o si Arnold, ikinulong sa Muntinlupa sa National Bilibid Prison New Bilibid Prison. Nagreklamo ba siya? Nagreklamo siguro, hindi ko naman narinig. Kasi nga, kung saan siya i-detain, bahala doon yung House, yung Senate o yung committee. Hanggang kailan siya pwedeng ikulong? Hanggang matapos yung inquiry. Si Arnold nga, inabot ng 3 taon. Bakit? Hindi niya kasi sinasabi kung sino yung mga opisyal ng gobyerno na hingi sa kanya ng lagay. Pero ngayon, sabi ng Korte Suprema, in that case of Ong versus Senate, ito yung pag-iimbestiga doon sa mga Parmali. Ha? Panahon ito ng pandemic, si Dick Gordon nag-imbestiga dyan as head of the Blue Ribbon Committee. Ha? Until the end of the inquiry. So pag natapos na yung inquiry, papalayain mo na yan kahit hindi mo nakuha yung impormasyon na gusto mo. That's the new rule according to the Supreme Court. Now, Section 22 is different. Ang Section 22 ay monitoring. It is known as the oversight power of Congress. Dito kailangan ang consent ng presidente ng Pilipinas. At nagbibigay ng advance questions at least 3 days before the inquiry doon sa Senate President or Speaker of the House. Pero hindi naman limitado doon yung mga itatanong nila. Okay? So this is different from Section 21. Kasi ito kailangan ng permiso ng presidente. Pero doon sa Section 21, hindi kailangan ng permiso ng presidente. Very clear yan doon sa Senate versus Ermita at saka doon sa Ong versus Senate. Okay? Now, before a bill shall become a law, kailangang idaan muna ito sa presidente. The president may approve the bill and sign it. After publication, it becomes a law. Otherwise, he vetoes it. At i-communicate niya yung kanyang veto message doon sa House of Origin. Saan ang galing itong bill na ito? Now, if after consideration, kasi ibabalik ito doon sa House or sa Senate, kasi co-equal body yan, pag ibinalik sa House or sa Senate, at pwede nilang i-reconsider para pumayag na ang presidente at pirmahan. Or, if the chamber wanted to override the veto power of the president, they need to get the 2/3 vote of all the members of that house. So let's say ito yung nanggaling sa Senado, kailangan ng 2/3 vote ng mga senador. Nakuha yung 2/3 vote, ipapadala ito dun sa House of Representatives na kailangan din ng 2/3 vote. Naku, mahirap ang 2/3 doon, napakarami nila. And that's the reason why, pag binito ng presidente ang bill, hindi na nagiging batas ito unless baguhin, ibalik sa presidente at pirmahan. Okay? Now, sometimes the president does not sign the bill. The problem is, he also does not veto it. So with a lapse of 30 days, the bill automatically becomes a law, as if the president has signed it. And one good example is that anti-age discrimination law, Republic Act 10911. Binigay ito sa presidente, paalis na nun si Pinoy. June 30, paalis na siya. Parang June 16 yata, June 21 yata binigay. Hindi niya napirmahan. Hindi rin binito. Nagpalit ng Pangulo noong June 30, 2016. Hindi rin ito napirmahan. So on July 21, 2016, the bill lapsed into law. So bawal na ngayon ang mga advertisement na ito yung kailangan naming empleyado, ito yung qualifications, nasa dulo, preferably not more than 40 years old. That is age discrimination. When the president vetoes a bill, he vetoes the entire bill or he does not veto it at all. Bawal ang item veto. Anong exception? Pwede ang item veto sa appropriations bill, revenue or tariff bill. Okay? At yung mga items na hindi niya binito ay hindi apektado. Pero as a general rule, pag nagbito ang presidente, rejected yung buong bill. Exception, ito nga. Kasi, budget. Nakita ng presidente yung budget para sa Department of Health ay maliit. So gusto niyang lakihan. Yun lang ang ibibito niya. Babalik niya sa Kongreso at pwedeng ayusin ng Kongreso, dagdagan, or i-override ang kanyang veto power. Okay? Hindi po pwedeng maglagay ng paggastos sa isang bagay na wala namang appropriation.
Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to CD Duca Law, where law is made simple and life is made easier. See you next time!